Welcome to another edition of Wings Weekly. Jay Klein Connect here, and this time joining me is assistant coach Zach Stepan. Of course, Coach Langer at Top Prospects, and we're going to touch on that in here in just a moment. But a quick recap of the weekend: a 3-0 shutout win on Friday night. Goaltending to centerman. It just, really honestly looked like a little bit of a different team than what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. The intensity was up, the effort was there. You had guys, in the corners and board battles, digging pucks out, and just a lot of good things. From your perspective and from Coach Langer's, as a staff, what did you guys think of Friday night's matchup?
I think the best part about Friday night's matchup, I think, was just you could tell that we started to gel back together as a team a bit. Mm-hmm. Guys weren't holding on their sticks too tight. You had guys willing to sell out. Like I think our shot blocks was somewhere in like the 24-25 range. And you look at some of the analytics, like they didn't get much at the net front. So a lot of what Cole had to see wasn't the second and third opportunities drop that, which was a good on our D and then good on Cole for stopping, because he still had to make some saves that he should make, and so that's where everyone kind of bought into that game plan. And I thought the reset of the week kind of showed the guys gelling back together, which is good. Yeah,
well, without a doubt. I hate to say it, but I was like, you can't really say you're out of a slump with one win. I was really, looking for a good game on Saturday, and it ended up being a really good game. I mean, a 2-1 loss, but man, there was a lot of excitement. I mean, there were multiple times there was a puck on the elbow of the crease it's like begging to be put in, and somebody was reaching for it, couldn't quite get it. There were some chances there, some really good looks. Fantastic crowd on hand Saturday night, and they were on their feet several times. There were, it was a really good game overall. It seemed like it was just, from a system standpoint, the two teams really seemed to match up well. Obviously a loss, but I think overall there wasn't a lot of turnovers. There weren't a lot of real problems. It was just a tightly contested game. Your thoughts on Saturday?
Yeah, I think for the average viewer, you can look at, you want to come out with a sweep to get out of your slump, right? Mm-hmm. But from our side of things, there's a lot of good things that we can take out of that weekend from us getting out of our own slump, not necessarily maybe on the scoreboard, but you look at it, 2 goals against on the weekend. Still got to continue to work on scoring some more goals, and those opportunities that you're talking about, finding a way to either, whether it's puck luck or someone just going that little extra mile to make sure it ends up across the goal line.
Right.
And those are things that'll come. But overall, like from a defensive standpoint, we were much better this weekend. We were more bought into the defensive structure. And then on top of that, it created more offense. So that's where you look at Saturday. Like, there was a lot of offensive excitement, even though the pucks weren't going to the net. Like, there was a lot of those scenarios where you had people on their feet going, and as you're creating that, if you start to create that consistently and then keep the defensive part consistently, and the games that you're losing are the 2-1 games, it allows you to polish the rest of your game if you're getting that consistency every week. And I feel like over the last couple of weeks, we were battling a lot of different things each night. And now that we got guys back in the lineup and all that good stuff, and we're starting to be able to kind of get our locked in group back together. If we can bring that consistency every night and continue to polish those types of things, that's when you start to take off.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that, because honestly, that's kind of where I was going with it, where I'm like, okay, you need to string a couple wins together to say you're out of a slump, but yet by the same token, as well as Saturday night was played, it did feel like, okay, there's a lot that can be taken away from that, and a lot of positives for sure. One thing that continues to be a little bit of an issue, though, is the power play. Now at 14.6%, unable to come up with a power play goal on the weekend. You're moving the puck around. There's opportunities there. What do you look at when you're looking at the power play? What's working? What's not working? I mean, obviously, when I say what's working, you're not getting a lot of goals at that point, but there's still some good movement. There's good opportunities and chances from players. But what do you got? What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts in regards to us being 24 out of 29 on the power play in the league. So that needs to get better, and that comes down to me. And there's a lot of different things. I mean, you can look at, if we're looking at it from short term and you look at the last month, at one point I had a defenseman in front of the net on the power play because of just sheer numbers and bodies.
Right.
And so when you start to run into issues like that, where new guys got to keep coming in or new guys got to start jumping on, a lot of details are lost in those scenarios. So when you look at the last month that we've ran into that's part of that problem.
Right.
Is, you in those scenarios you have to simplify, but they don't necessarily create creative chances that to give you a higher percentage of scoring goals. It's more just trying to build momentum, right? And so now we're back to being able to kind of lock in our units. Guys can start to really focus on the details of where they need to be at what time, and then also, like, once we pop that first or second one, because we went through that whole scenario and now guys are looking at our power play percentage. Guys are gripping their sticks a little too tight. So we actually just took them out for breakfast this morning. And just had that talk of this is how we're going to get rid of the anxiety and just go out there and play and let's see what happens. Because right now we got nothing to lose, and so it'll be good to see how we come out of this weekend. And as long as we're getting the chances, goals will come. It's when we start losing the chances that we really run into a problem.
Well, and that's, again, one of the positives, I guess you can say, that there were some good looks and some good chances where goaltenders, had to make good saves or whatever, and hats off to them. They're going to do that. That's their job. But it's not for a lack of opportunity, I guess. So.
And another piece that goes into it too is it's how your team is built, right? So bringing in a kid like Rupe Tumioksa has been, he's going to help our power play. He's a dynamic player. But you look at our team, just over the course of the year, we've been building as 200-foot players. And so when you have a lot of 200-foot players, you don't have as many of those dynamic forwards. We look at, there's teams I'm looking at throughout the league that may be more towards the bottom of the standings, but they got a really good power play because they got a lot of really dynamic players that don't know how to play defense.
Okay.
So there's different pieces to it. Like, we're not going to be a 30% power play percentage type team with just how we're built, but we're very underperforming, so we're not using it as an excuse. It's just something that we really got to work on the details of that side of it.
That's a good point. Glad you brought that up. And to him, Mioksa, every time he gets a pass comes across or goes to him or something, you kind of go, what's he gonna do? Because a drop pass between his legs to O'Connell, and I'm just like, where did he come up with that? Like, there's some excitement there. You can see that he's got some creativity. Maybe that's not the right word, but it kind of feels that way. Like, he can make some things happen. So
yeah, for sure.
Saturday night, as we talked about, a 2-1 loss, power play at 14.6%, but that is a work in progress, as we were talking about. Jersey auction there on Saturday night. By the way, you do a great job hyping up the players and giving people a little bit of back information or something as the players come up. I know it's a lot of fun. The crowd really enjoyed that. Sounds like just about $32,000, if I'm not mistaken, was raised for Spurs Therapeutic Riding Center, and that was a fantastic event. It's crazy to me I guess it's not. I should be used to it, to see what some of the numbers of these jerseys go for. But I've been around for other teams' jerseys, their auctions, and they're like barely cover the cost of the sweater. They're going for $100, and when we have jerseys that are going for $3,000 and stuff, I'm like, wow, that is awesome, and it obviously helps out Spurs in a huge way. And to hear them come up and tell, at the beginning of the auction, to tell the story of the horses I was like, whoa, I wish I'd have known that weeks ago. Like, that was so cool, to hear about how each one of those horses was an actual horse that they used for their therapeutic riding, that all unfortunately passed away inside the same year. And I'm going, that's a great story. Like, I didn't realize that. So I thought they were just random horses anyway, pretty cool. And thanks to everybody who came out and bid on the horse, or the Spurs jerseys for the auction there. It was fantastic. We're going to talk top prospects here in just a moment. I wanted to ask you, though, and this is something I've kind of had in my mind to talk to Coach Langer about a little bit too, but as a coaching staff, there's times when I'm seeing a rush, coming through, whether it's a 2-on-1 or just an odd man rush, and it gets blown dead for an offside. Sometimes it's because of something a defenseman does, like maybe a little poke check or whatever makes them have to stutter step or whatever. Is that frustrating for you guys to be able to see, like, oh man, we had a great scoring opportunity and then it's blown dead, you know? And also, I guess a two-part question in a sense. I was mentioning, obviously, a defenseman can, or somebody can you know, create those offside sometimes, but where do you put the onus? Is there blame that can go to those rushes being stopped?
Yes, so let me break this down. So your first question, is it frustrating? 1,000%. Okay, it is very frustrating. The thing that you have to remember is things are happening so fast in the game of hockey that it's as frustrating as it is. Like, looking back at my playing days, I get it too. So it can come down to, a lot of the onus, because what people will get mad at sometimes is you look at the ref and be like, that's not offsides, or what are you looking at, all that stuff. But I still look at it as that's the onus on the player, because all they have to do is extend their stick over the blue line and don't even give the ref the opportunity to have to make a 50-50 call. Right. And what we run into, and it's a major skill set. Like, this is not an easy skill set to do that, because you have to, one, come in with control, but two, put the puck in a spot where you're not going to turn it over. And when you start to get into that extending, you don't feel as comfortable with the puck. So to me, it's onus on the player, because you can take all of the 50-50 looks from the refs away just by extending over, rather than keeping it comfortable inside your body and try to do, stick out of the blue line, because also the guys coming into the zone with you, they have no idea what you're going to do. Right. So you have to understand that to allow them to just continue, you have to get that puck over the blue line. If you start messing around with it at the blue line, guys can't react that fast. So the puck carrier is the one that's really got to work on that. But again, that's a major skill set that you can see in the NHL, is how guys deliberately extend their sticks over the blue line to make sure the guy coming into the zone is on sides at full speed. So you can work on that, you can preach it, but that's something that just comes with time.
Yeah. Well, and then, like you said, I mean, you extend the stick, but then, you almost increase the opportunity, if there's somebody there especially, obviously, to have it stolen away or whatever too. So, it's kind of it's a tricky situation. I just know that there are times that I'm like, oh, we've got a rush coming through the neutral zone. Oh, and I literally physically feel my shoulders just go, no, why did that just happen?
Yeah, frustrating for sure. But go watch an NHL game now that you're hearing this, and just watch around the blue lines. It is a specific skill set that the best players in the world still sometimes struggle with.
Right. So
again, just keep working on it, and a lot of it comes down to, we're also, some of our detailed teaching is fight for the middle, right? Because the middle of the ice is the most important part. So now learning the when to do it and when to not. Right. The situation too is a big piece of it as well.
Yeah, a lot of mentality, or a lot of mental components there too. Top prospects going on this week. You've got, of course, Coach Langer there as an assistant coach. Michael Casey, Nick Justice, Landon Parker, Alexander Gullickson, all there representing, the Wings in a sense, with the exception of Casey, I guess. But either way, a fantastic event. I've talked with Coach Langer about the opportunity for scouts and people to be able to watch players and be able to they come together. They're able to, in one location, see all of these guys that are looking for commitments and so on. Fantastic event. But it creates some problems in a sense for, everybody deals with this, but the fact is that you're missing players. In our case, you're missing a head coach. How do you prepare for Minot for the coming week, whatever, with players out plus coach out? Probably not a whole lot different than having a bunch of guys sick like you have been,
Yeah, I would look at, I'm going to try to look at the optimistic side of this. So we're playing Minot again, right? So from a video proponent and systems proponent, there's not a lot that they're not already going to know going into next weekend. Because the only changes that are going to be made is by us or Minot within ourselves. And then you have to make those in-game adjustments if something does change. So there's nothing that you're going to be able to change off of video, since we just saw it from the weekend. And so there's a little bit of a benefit for us, and I don't know where other teams are at in that standpoint of playing the same team 2 weekends in a row again. But and then the other thing is from then they're still skating, right? And they're playing games. So from a conditioning standpoint, you don't have much to worry about. So what I would look at it as is this week is guys hearing a different voice, right? Something different, right? And sometimes that can rejuvenate as well. The guys that are still here, because even though there's 4 guys that aren't here, there's still 19 that are.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, a little bit of just changing things up a little bit sometimes kind of does. Like you said, it can kind of make people, I don't want to say they get into a rut or whatever, but it is a little bit different, and in some senses. And like you said, in the Wings case, in this case, it's actually kind of fortuitous that you do have the same team, again, where it could have been North Iowa or somebody that you haven't seen in a long time. The preparation would be totally different. So that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, and then that's where you talk about like the routine, right? You said it can get a little bit stale, and I think we ran into that with Bismarck, right? Is playing the same team 5 times in a row, and you start to grip your stick a little tighter each game. And so I think going into this weekend too, we felt just rejuvenated to just play somebody different, right? Which showed Friday and Saturday night.
Oh, yeah, 5 games in a row, same team. I'm still scratching my head at that. But Austin, right now, top of the Central Division, 57 points. Minot with 44 points. Wings with 44 points. Friday night's game, the Wings leapfrog Minot, they jump into second. And after Saturday night's game, it's third. So they're back and forth, very close there. St. Cloud coming up from the bottom of the division, and they are at 43 points in 4th place right now. Then Bismarck and North Iowa has dropped to the bottom with 39 points. Now everybody in the middle's got 40 games played, 41 for Austin, 39 for North Iowa. But as we just talked about, you've got Minot again, once again in the Mesa up, in Minot. We talked about preparation, from a top prospect standpoint. But again, the fact that you just saw this team makes things a little bit easier. But what do you feel like you guys have to do as a team? What are going to be some keys?
Yeah, I think the consistency defensively is going to be one. Like, even look at Saturday night's game, the shots were a little bit higher. They had a few more scoring chances than they did Friday night. But I still thought we did a good job of boxing guys out after the first opportunity, and still our block shots went up again, and those types of things. And if you start to really come together with that, you're gonna be competitive in every game.
Yeah.
And so now from the other side of it, it goes back to like special teams is going to be huge, and there's too many games this year where we're getting 4 or 5 opportunities a night, and that one goal could be a complete game changer of the night, right?
Yep.
So I think power play personally needs to start being a game changer that way and start being a momentum swinger. But then on the other side, like, Cole did a great job this weekend, and Gino's going to bounce back. Like, I have no worries at all that Gino's going to bounce back when he gets his opportunity. And those guys start to backstop. It gives the guys in front of them more confidence, and that was shown this weekend. For sure. Well,
and one of the things I was kind of watching pretty closely was that the LaPinta, Longy, Emmons line. When you look at the stats, they're the ones that are lighting things up. They're the ones in double digits on their scoring and stuff, and they have been in point streaks and so on. To be able to kind of shut them down and kind of suffocate them in a sense from the weekend, I think was kind of a feather in the hat, so to speak. Maybe that's not the right way to put it, but defensively to be able to make sure keep them off the scoring and off the score books was, I think, a little bit of a win in its own right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're one of the best lines in the league. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that either. And to be able to frustrate them, because they were visually frustrated this weekend. Like, LaPinta got into it a few times, and once you start frustrating them like that, that's how you get guys like that to go away. Yeah. Right? And so it comes back to the consistency thing is, when you're that good and hard defensively, you are going to frustrate players like that. Yeah. So if we bring that, no matter who you play, you bring that every night, you're going to start frustrating those types of kids, and then that puts you in a good spot to not let them be a factor.
Right. Well, and it's not easy to do, because that is a very talented line, as you said, and they can be very, like we talked about, game changers, or swinging a game one way or the other. They can certainly do it. So, all right, Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show. As anytime we get a chance to talk to you, I always appreciate your time. I know you're very busy, but thanks so much for joining us, and good luck against Minot this weekend.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jay.
All right, folks, we'll continue on with our second portion of Wings Weekly coming up after this.
We raise the bar on bar food with sandwiches, tenders, and there's more where this came from. To the greatest of all time.
Welcome to the second portion of Wings Weekly. As usual, a player is joining me, and this time it is Wyatt Hickok. Thank you so much for taking some time to join us here on Wings Weekly and get, like I always say, give fans an opportunity to kind of get to know you a little bit. They cheer on and see that number 6 flying around, but they, don't get an opportunity to get to know you a little bit, so that's kind of cool.
Well, thank you for having me.
You bet, you bet. All right, well, a lot of these questions are the same as I pretty much ask everybody because every answer is a little bit different.
Yeah.
You spent some time in the NCDC, VIJHL, obviously, from Anchorage, Alaska, not a whole lot. I mean, you're used to the cold, you're used, surrounded by hockey and that atmosphere and the culture and everything, so it's not a whole lot different. It's not like coming from Arizona or Florida or something like that in a lot of ways. But I always have to ask how you got, how players get started playing the game. How old were you? Were you pretty young?
Yeah, I first started skating when I was about 18 months. My grandfather owned a roller rink, so I kind of learned that way and then started playing when I was 4.
Okay, 18 months, that might be a new record, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've heard guys say, oh yeah, I was 2, I was 3, but that's awfully young to be learning to skate. I can see obviously that there's some benefits, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you learn the footwork and everything at an early age. Plus, you're not all that far from the ground, so if you fall, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, less distance to go down.
Okay, so you started playing at 4. Were there, anybody in your family maybe, or how did you kind of get going?
My father kind of just wanted his son to play hockey, so he saw an ad in the newspaper, and he told my mom he signed me up for hockey, and that's kind of how I started. My mother's side, they played roller hockey. Okay. So I have that in my background, just playing roller hockey, and that's kind of how I started playing ice hockey, was through roller hockey and my grandfather.
Very cool. Okay. How about defense? Becoming a defenseman? Did you? Was that something most skate out players try a couple of different positions? Maybe even tried goalie for a while or whatever. What made you kind of settle on the blue line?
I was the only kid to skate backwards back when I was first started playing, so that's I've just stayed back there since. So.
Well, when you start skating at 18 months, you learn how to skate backwards quickly.
Exactly right.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, obviously, that's an important component, is being able to transition forward to backward and so on as a defenseman. What are some other things that you think are important keys, or what makes a good defenseman? What makes a player a good blue liner?
Their skating ability, I would say, is number 1. Being able to join in the rush, being defensively sound, boxing out guys, making the first pass in the breakouts, being up in people's faces, tight gaps, things like that, just being aggressive and up in people's faces.
Yeah. Well, board battles, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of components, a lot of pieces to it, and I've often heard that oftentimes the defensemen are some of the best skaters on the team. Yeah. So how about your road to Aberdeen? As I mentioned, you played in the NCDC's NIJHL. How did you end up here in Aberdeen?
Lou Gravel. I owe a big thank you to him. He head scout here. He helped me through the whole process. I started out in White Court in the AJ this year. Okay. Things didn't work out there, and he sent me to the VIJHL for the Victoria Cougars. Spent half the season there, and then Aberdeen gave me a call, and they gave me an opportunity. I'm kind of just trying to run with it. The opportunity I have, and they gave me. So
now I got to ask, transitions into what were your impressions coming to the flat plains of northern South Dakota? What was it like first coming to Aberdeen, and then coming into this locker room? You're a guy that steps into an organization where these guys have been together since August. That can't be the easiest thing.
No, for sure. The culture was the first thing I noticed, was the culture, how tight everybody is. They opened me with open arms.
Welcomed you in with the group, yeah.
So it was nice. I'm living with Owen Dubois, who's helped me a lot through it, just been there mentoring me, helping me make new friends, and he was my first buddy on the team, so he's helped a lot with the new transition and coming into a new locker room and seeing new faces.
Yeah, well, and a guy that's been here for 3 years and is our team captain, that I can see where he knows the ins and outs of things. That's for sure. How about when you're not at the rink, when you're not working out, when you're not in the weight room or on the ice, what do you like to do?
I'm currently in school, so I'm taking some online classes, psychology and English, so that has most of my time, majority of my time, and then if I'm not doing that, just hanging out with the guys, playing video games or watching hockey, football, whatever it may be.
Sports fan?
Yeah,
just in general?
100%.
Right on. Okay, I got a couple of goofy questions I'm going to ask you here, make you think a little bit. First off, what would be your dream car, pickup, Jeep, whatever? Like if you could just go, you know what, snap my fingers and it's in front of me, I have the keys in my hand, what's it going to be?
I like the Audi V8s.
Okay.
Kind of like a sporty look, but also a business casual, sharp looking car.
I don't know why that surprises me, but it kind of does. I like that one. I like that a lot. It's practical. It makes good sense. I was kind of thinking there'd be a Bentley or something like that. But, I'm not exactly a daily driver.
Even a BMW would be nice.
Yeah. Okay, how about, now you are given the ability to speak to animals, but you can only speak to land animals, sea or water animals, or air animals like birds. So you can't speak to all of the different kinds.
I'm going to pick land animals for sure. I just think there's more of them, and I'm from an area that has lots of bears and moose and wolves, so I enjoy talking to them and kind of seeing what's on their mind.
Yeah. See, when I was writing this question out and I was thinking of that, I'm like, it'd be cool to be able to like talk to dolphins and whales and stuff, but then I'm like, even a dog, like if you could like chat with your dog, that would be pretty cool. So I think I would definitely go with land animals as well. Okay, so we've established that now you're able to speak with land animals. What about if you could control something with your mind? Would you rather be able to control, say, animals of all kinds with your mind, or electronics?
Animals for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, especially dogs. They're my best. I have 2 dogs back home, a German Shepherd and a Boxer, and I think just reading them and controlling them would be cool.
Yeah, this is another one where I had to scratch my head a little bit. I'm like,
that's a hard choice.
That is, because you're like, whether it's a cappuccino machine, whatever, you can control it with your mind. There's some advantages there, but on an emotional level, I feel like the animal's the way to
100%.
go. All right. A huge night here Saturday night. Friday, obviously, a huge win, which is great. But man, the crowd was just absolutely phenomenal on Saturday night there, and having the Spurs Therapeutic Riding Center jersey auction and stuff going on. Now, again, you're somewhat new to the community, new to the team, but Spurs Therapeutic Riding Center has been around, I think 30 years roughly, right in that neck of the woods. They help out a lot of people, and over the course of the years that they've been doing this and helping special needs handicapped individuals of all kinds, of all ages, of all whatever. And again, being new, maybe you didn't really realize what that Spurs on the jerseys or on the sweaters this weekend was all about. But when you kind of hear some of the backstory and stuff, does that make it a little more special knowing that you're
100%, especially the horses, getting the meanings behind those, and that they were actual horses that they used for those.
That actually surprised me
kids.
too. That was very cool. Yeah, I mean, when we do these every year, we do a jersey auction for whether it's the disabled American veterans or Safe Harbor. It just always, to me, it just feels like such a great opportunity that the Wings have to give back to the community and the Odie family and the whole as a team. Just great. And you can just hear, in listening and talking with some of the Spurs people to hear their level of appreciation and they were so over the top with appreciation, and just not over the top in a bad way by any means, but they certainly happy to have you guys be part of that.
Yeah, it was a special night for sure, giving back to the community as well and getting to know those people.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's funny because it does go full circle. Like you look at the crowd. I'm looking at it going, man, there's not an empty seat. People are shoulder to shoulder along the mezzanine. I think we listed 1,907 people, and you just think this is part of giving back to the community. Then they come and cheer you 100%. On, and it's a circle that I love it. I just love seeing it for sure. All right, you've got Minot again this weekend. I was just talking with Coach Stepan a little bit, about what some of the keys are as a coaching staff and what they have to do to get ready for the Minotauros up in the Mesa Ice Center. What do you think as a player, in the locker room standpoint, when coaches aren't in here, what do you guys talk about? What do you feel like you need to do?
I think we just need to start having good practice this week, have the compete up, battling hard against each other, taking care of the small details, working on special teams because that's a huge part of the game. Penalty kill, power play, just shutting down the penalty kill and scoring on the power play because, it was a 2-1 game Saturday. Came down to special teams, so I think it's going to come down to special teams again this weekend, so we need to capitalize on our opportunities and shut their power play down like we did for the most part this weekend.
And these are two teams that just, I don't know. The Central Division, I'm talking with some Minot people and stuff, it's funny because, you have St. Cloud go up there on a Thursday night and put 9 on them.
Yeah.
And then the next night, Minot, owns them the rest of the weekend. And you're just going, what the heck happened there? And the same thing with the Wings and Bismarck. And the Central Division is kind of topsy-turvy in that sense, where everybody, it sounds so cliche, but the reality is any team can beat anybody on any given 100%. Night. And I feel like Minot, in a sense, really kind of matches up well. There's some good hockey games that we've seen with the Minotauros here so far this year. All right, Wyatt Hickok, thank you so much for joining me. I know you guys are busy, got a lot going on with school and practice and everything else, so I appreciate you taking some time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, the Wings, as we just talked about, face Minot once again, this time on the road inside the Mesa Arena on Friday and Saturday, February 10th and 11th with the 7:35 puck drop both nights. Catch the action using your Hockey TV login or watch the games at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Aberdeen, the official home for all Wings away games. The game's audio will also be broadcast via Hub City Radio's 94.1 The Rock, or you can download the Rock app and listen anywhere from your mobile device, anywhere you go. Your skater can still sign up for Wings clinics with assistant coach Zach Stepan. Visit AberdeenWings.com and click the Aberdeen Wings Youth Clinics tab for details and dates. Don't forget, you can listen to Wings Weekly via our podcast. Find the audio for this season's episode on Spotify, Stitcher, or iHeartRadio. And for the latest news and information on the Wings, visit AberdeenWings.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. Once again, Wyatt Hickok, thank you so much for joining us. And that'll wrap up this week's Wings Weekly.